Welcome to 28.5 Women's Basketball, where we explore a unique and authentic perspective on the women's game, break down upcoming matchups, and discuss the latest news and trends in women's basketball. We are your hosts. I'm Sydney Story, and I played basketball at the University of Tennessee under Pat Summitt.
And I'm Becca Goodman, and I played at the University of Notre Dame under Muffet McGraw. And we're thrilled to have you join us today. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy what you hear, be sure to tune in each week and don't forget to follow, download, and listen to give an assist and share the love. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hey, Sid, how's it going?
Hey, good, Becca. Glad to be back after our week off there.
Yeah, did you enjoy the Super Bowl? Were you watching a team or just tuning in to see commercials and halftime?
You know, I was more so than ever. I don't get into the NFL a ton, but I was hoping that the Patriots didn't win. I sound like a hater, but I feel like they just have dominated for a lot of our lifetime and had this dynasty. And obviously that was with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and I don't know. So I'm not really a huge Robert Kraft fan. I don't know. So I was rooting for the Seahawks. How about you?
Yeah, no, same. I don't think I really had a dog in the race, but it was cool to see the kicker really get, hold their own and basically they were the sole offense for a couple quarters there. So it was cool. Obviously, I like to watch it for the commercials just to see what's new, and anything funny is always one of my faves. But yeah, it was good. Nothing crazy because as we mentioned, we weren't really watching one team versus another, but it was definitely fun. And then we were back to basketball. So taking a week off of recording to just kind of punt that episode was cool. But man, so many good games going on and so many updates to share just about last week and then this last week that we just had. So definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, you that ring, kicker, because he was holding it down, man. He won the game, really. So that was kind of cool. Yeah.
If I could be reincarnated and come back in life, I would be a kicker. That's my goal. I'm gonna be a kicker.
Yeah, he's gonna rock that ring with some pride, I think, which is pretty cool.
He should.
Okay, let's jump in. We've got a full 4 quarters, so let's knock them out. So first quarter, we're gonna do our high-low segment, which I'm pumped about, and we collaborated a little bit because we kind of knew who the high and who the low is going to be. So we're going to have the same pick this week. We're going to roll it all in. It's all around Vandy, which if you watched women's basketball in the past week, what a high of the high and what a low of the low. So it's going to be fun to highlight that. Second quarter, we've got a round robin of games. So we're going to just games that stuck out to us, games that made an impact. We're going to run through them. It's going to be a good recap of the week. Our third quarter, we're going to walk through and break down the committee's bracket preview of the 1s and 2s. So they released their top 16 teams, and I think that's going to be fun to break down in quarter 3. And then our fourth quarter, we're going to hit those upcoming matchups. So let's get started.
Yeah, let's rock it. So I don't know if we've ever really defined our high and low, but a high-low is a basketball term where you have somebody flash to the high post, which is like the free throw line, and you catch it, get the ball, and look to throw it to your buddy or your partner who's on the low block, which would be underneath the basket. So anytime you see, it's normally run against a zone, you call high-low look. It's literally just 2 players, 1 high, 1 low, and working to get open. So what we try to do is incorporate it into our quarters to make it our high and low of the week, meaning a good and a bad, or a big win or a tough loss. And Vandy is our high and low this week. The team as a whole, they were rocking it. They had some amazing wins. For instance, the week started off on Big Monday, beating number 10 Oklahoma at home 102-86, with Michaela Blake scoring 34 points, Galvin adding 30. Anytime you have 2 players who combine for 64 points, it's 1, pretty wild, 2, really tough to not be able to limit them. Oklahoma definitely struggled. At times, this lead was open to 26. It got closer. I give Oklahoma props for being able to fight to kind of stay in the game and not let it get away from him. But I will say, Vandy out-rebounded Oklahoma, and when you have Reagan Beers in there, you always assume she's going to be the one that dictates the paint, and they'll be able to rock it from there, but they definitely struggled. And of course, Blake's and Galvin just had themselves a day. Then the second game of the week, they beat number 4 Texas at home, again 86-70. Blake's coming in again strong with 34 points. I thought this win was honestly more shocking than kind of any other win that they've had, just because Texas just seemed to be rolling at that number 4 spot. Very steady Eddie. They know their roles. They do their jobs. So for Vandy to get a win over Texas, I thought they kind of snuck one by. Sid, what'd you think about this one?
Coming out of the first half of the week, I was thinking to myself, like, Vandy is the real deal. To do what they did against Texas, they did back-to-back big wins. I think Oklahoma was a huge momentum starter for them at the start of the week, heading into that Texas game. And I think it proves a little bit around some of the age of the NIL here and what Vandy has done. They've really gone to their big donor base. They've rebuilt their facilities around women's basketball. They've been able to keep a Michaela Blakes, who's leading the nation in scoring right now, right? She could have transferred anywhere after her freshman season. She stays at Vandy, a testament to Shea Ralph and the program she's building. And I just think it was a really, really solid win for Vandy. Helps that they're at home because they have that weird layout, right, where the benches are on the baselines and it's just a weird feel in there. It's like an old opera house. And so it's a hard environment to come in and play in, but it's really hard when Vandy plays like that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So those were our highs of the week for Vandy. They were rocking it. Then they jumped into Sunday's game against Georgia, an unranked Georgia, and they couldn't pull it out. They lost 76-74. And Georgia's not one that's, by any means to be overlooked. They've been close at a couple other games. They've provided an upset earlier in the year against Kentucky. So they're definitely ones to make sure you circle and keep on your radar. I just think trying to prep for 3 games against great opponents, 2 ranked top 10, that's going to be hard in itself. But also, this game, it wasn't like Vandy just seemed out of sorts where their defense really wasn't in it, because Georgia had about 3 to 4 girls in double figures. And I'm not talking just like 10, 11. I'm talking 29 points for Danny, 19, 18. Like, they had girls putting up points this game. And I'm just going to say, Georgia goes in to their next game and they're going to be playing Oklahoma. So not only did Vandy beat Oklahoma and now Vandy lost to Georgia, Georgia's now going to go see how they can stack up against Oklahoma, who knows where they'll be ranked next week. But exclamation point, this is a super bad low because they're an unranked opponent. The loss took Vandy out of contention for being a number 1 seed with the committee. And it stinks to be on such a high and then get this loss.
Yeah, I think with how strong the SEC is, these games make and break you. So with the high of beating Oklahoma and Texas, it was just making it for Vandy. And then that turning around, having to play, to your point, a decent Georgia team that you cannot overlook. Underrated, right? They weren't even rated in this game. They probably should have been at least 23rd or something, right? Like, they're proving that they're a decent team. I think they play with a chip on their shoulder, which is scary. So that game breaks you, right? To your point, like Vandy was going to be that number 1 seed as of right now per the committee. And it's a bad loss. It bumps them out of it. And I remember having to play at Georgia. I hated playing at Georgia. The fans are in it. It's just a tough environment. And to your point, Vandy couldn't do the back-to-back-to-back tough scouts. And I think that's really hard to do.
Yeah. And by no means, I don't think they're written off, or it just stinks when if I was on Vandy's team, I'd be like, man, how do we lose to Georgia after the week we just had? But honestly, if you're Shea Ralph, I think you're almost liking this. I think this is a good gut check. Even if your team's on a high with these wins against Oklahoma, Texas, and then to not be able to handle business against Georgia, it's almost kind of like a pre-bracket type look with having those consistent back-to-back games, right? 3 in 1 week, you're not going to get in a tournament, but to a degree, you get those 2 back-to-back that are so important, and you have to pay attention to your opponent no matter what they're ranked, what their record, and what they're bringing. So I think it's a good opportunity for Shea to kind of use this as a teaching point for her team and kind of springboard it forward to into the end of February to carry them into March.
You've got Galvin and Blakes who put up a ton of points, and maybe it's a gut check that they need other girls that can consistently show up and put points on the board. You can't just rely maybe on those two as much. Could be part of it. Like, how do we build a more well-rounded offense and get more people involved is probably what they're thinking a little bit, learning from that loss.
For sure.
All right, let's jump into our second quarter. So we're going to hit round robin of games. We'll see where this goes. There was a lot of good women's basketball played the past week. The first one we want to talk about was primetime Saturday night, number 6 LSU versus number 3 South Carolina. South Carolina wins this one by a score of 79-72. And I love the Saturday primetime games because it's almost like there's just like this giant spotlight on women's basketball. There's one game going on, and they usually pick a really good matchup. And the gym, the atmosphere at LSU, you could hear how loud the crowd was, especially getting into like the last couple of minutes when LSU was chipping away and coming back, and like a big three was hit, and it was just like an eruption in the crowd. I love that. And then to me, it also speaks volumes on how South Carolina kept their cool, pulled it out, even in that hostile, tough environment in Baton Rouge. But I'll kick it over to you, Becca. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, just real quick. This was amazing. This game was rocking. I love Dawn's calm as always. And, you have Kim Mulkey on the other sideline going crazy all the time. Yeah. I did listen to the post-game press conference, and Mulkey said, how do you get mad at them when they won everything? They won the rebounding battle. They won the turnover battle. They had 18 offensive rebounds. Even Dawn Staley said, anytime you can get a win and the other team has 18 offensive boards, I think that's amazing. Like, you basically won the lottery. I will say Kim Mulkey did mention this game was pretty much lost on free throws, which rightfully so. LSU was 14 for 23, while South Carolina was 15 of 17. So that's absolutely going to be a difference maker there, especially against great teams like this. Another thing Mulkey said, and this is where a lot of high school girls can learn how important every possession is. Like we talk to our players that were coach on our teams, and we're like, you can't turn that over. You can't do this. And it's like, yes, one turnover doesn't matter. But when you have 5 in a high school game, that is the difference between like a solid win or a tough loss. So in college, that magnifies to basically 1 to 2 turnovers, maybe 2, to a win or a loss. And that's what Kim Mulkey said. She just was very adamant on they have to get better. They have to clean up all the little pieces. I do just want to mention that loss that LSU had was the 18th straight loss for South Carolina, which is the longest streak versus any team in program history. So clearly LSU, every time they play South Carolina, they're trying to get that dub, break that streak, and just remove that salt out of their mouth. But South Carolina, I mean, they're rolling. They're number 3 for a reason.
Yeah, Dawn's got their number for sure. They're going to play each other again potentially here. It's going to be interesting when the tournament rolls around, the SEC tournament rolls around. Could play again in the big tournament. Who knows? If that happens, like, that's going to be a game to circle and watch, because at this point, I think these teams are just going at it, and it's great. All right, we're going to jump to the next one. And this one I'd like to kick up and talk to you about is Duke. So Duke is a program right now we've talked a ton about last season, this season. They're ranked 11th. They played a really, really tough non-conference start to the season where they were getting their butts kicked. And we were like, man, Duke shouldn't have been ranked in the top 10 probably. But they were playing everybody and anybody, especially in that tournament out in Vegas. I mean, they played a lot of the top teams, and they lost to them. Turn around, they've won the last 16 games. They're 14-0 in conference play. They just beat number 21 North Carolina, a rival of theirs, 68-72 on Sunday at home. And man, I just think Duke is playing really well. We've talked a ton about, like, they don't bring the consistent offense. We talk about Toby Fournier, how she's capable of it. We talk about how they need to put together that offensive package and seem to not consistently be able to do it. But they're making waves right now in the ACC. What are your thoughts on Duke, Becca?
Complete turnaround, complete flip, complete Kara Lawson digging in, keep steering the ship, making her team know that those losses early on are just growing pains and they're going to make us better. This is the definition. And I know we knocked on them for, I know we did. I was one as well. I was like, they can't score. They can't. But Kara Lawson is showing exactly what type of coach she is. She's making her players better throughout the whole year. So there's a difference between coaches who it kind of seems like they try to refine certain players to continue to get their points or to continue to drive the team. And then there's coaches who dig into every player on their team, knowing that it takes every player in order to get them wins. And I just think Kara Lawson did this. She's completely flipped the script. 14-0 in conference, undefeated. Like I don't know what to say other than like props to them. Huge turnaround. It's always great when Duke is a powerhouse or getting back to being one. And I think they're on a roll, and that couldn't be more obvious.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you're ever looking for some motivation, just go to YouTube, type in Kara Lawson speech, and there'll be different pop-ups that come up. And there's several of them now. You want to hear a good coach who just like is all about life and like figuring out how to win and how to succeed. She's got some awesome clips out there. It just, to your point, shows the kind of coach she is. I think she relates a lot of things to life. I think she's relating to these players right now. Whatever she's doing, the team is gelling. They're getting better, to your point. They've got more games here that they got to try to win out the ACC. But we'll see if they do it. They have the potential here to win out regular season, which is kind of cool.
All right, continuing our round robin games, we're going to talk about two quick upsets. Number 20 Maryland beat number 8 Ohio State 76-75. Close one there, especially shocking to see. We've been on board with Maryland. We know they can pull it together and play some great basketball, but to upset Ohio State, who is really rolling there, I think this is a bad loss for Ohio State. It'll be interesting to see how they fall rankings when they come out today. I definitely think they're going to take a dip out of the top 10. The other game is number 18 Kentucky, also upset number 14 Ole Miss 74-57. Anytime a top-ranked team gets 20 on you, it tells me that Ole Miss was out of sorts a bit, maybe not all there, not all focused in. I didn't watch this game personally, but for 18 to upset a 14, Ole Miss has been rolling as of lately. Kentucky just suffered a loss recently, so it's nice to see them on the bounce back. Kentucky's one of those teams I honestly truly feel like they could play to the caliber of competition, or they could take an L. It just depends on the day.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, it's like toss-up games, the Maryland versus Ohio State game, because we know Maryland's decent. They have a good coach. Like I kind of get the upset a little bit. Like I'm not surprised on it. And then same with Kentucky Ole Miss, because Kentucky's that team that can be dangerous and upset folks. Like two really good games though. I mean, it looks like, yeah, except for Ole Miss, maybe didn't hold up their end of the bargain, but
and we know in our fourth quarter, Ole Miss is going to have a tough week coming up. So Coach Yo is about to be on them. So I don't doubt that.
Again, the grind of the SEC, I think, is getting to some folks here. And then the last one that we wanted to talk about in the round robin was number 4 Texas beating number 22 Tennessee 65-63. Man, this one was a one that came down to the very end, and I just thought we played an overall decent game against Texas, and Texas, that team that can score a lot of points but has been struggling a little bit offensively. And Tennessee, I think, slowed them down at the very beginning with their full court press. Like there were times where I'm like, Texas looks like a middle school team. Like, are they really going to go to the corner and get trapped here? Like it was like weird, like, so I thought overall Tennessee played well enough to win this one, but I thought down the stretch, there were some coaching decisions that were made that I was kind of screaming at the TV at one point. Like there was 50 seconds to go. It was a long possession. Our shot clock is running down. I think we had like 8 seconds to go. And I'm screaming, call a timeout, right? Like regroup the team. We had 2 timeouts at that point. No timeouts called. We jack up a 3. It's a bad shot. Texas gets the ball. At that point, we're down by 1. They go down to the other end. There's a bad foul call. They get 2 free throws. Now we're down by 3. And I'm just, at that point, I'm like, man, I think a time, and you never know, right? Maybe she calls that timeout and we come out and don't score and whatever. But it's the feel of the game for me where I'm like, that should have been a timeout. And so I was kind of bummed by that, right? Because I thought Tennessee actually could have got it done there. And so shout out to Tennessee, though. I mean, they played horribly against South Carolina the week prior. Turn around, beat Missouri in a pretty good game there. And then really took it to Texas. I think you just don't know what Tennessee team is showing up right now. And it's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah. The inconsistency is it would drive me crazy. They're a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
There you go. Exactly. It's like Notre Dame this week. Notre Dame took it to NC State, and I'm like, man, wow, NC State, as you and I both know, is a good team. That's a good program. Yeah. They're well coached. They've got a ton of really good athletes, and Notre Dame smoked them, right? Yep. And it's like both our teams right now, you don't know who's going to show up.
Yeah. The inconsistency is just, it's almost unsettling because normally when you're bought in and in tune with a team, especially that you come from, you know what their mindset should be every day representing that university, what the expectations of the program are. And it's just kind of the hit or miss and the lack of consistent effort. And honestly, like skill. It's the lack of like girls going out there and playing to their ability every time. So I agree with you. This one was close. I give Tennessee props for fighting back. Like I told you earlier, they were down 10 with like 2.5 minutes. I'm like, oh, it's probably over. And then before you knew it, it was like a 1-point game. And I was like, holy crap, they could do it. And then again, the fouls, the free throws, and just some clock and game management things there at the end. But yeah, definitely a good one. And maybe a boost for Tennessee to get some confidence to kind of pull it back together. And who knows?
Yeah, we still got some tough games coming up here. So I would have been nice to get the Texas win. I think if we'd have gotten that Texas win, it would have helped a little bit more with the seeding heading into SEC tournament coming up here. But did not get it done in Knoxville, and that's okay. I think overall we hung with Texas though, which was good to see. Mm-hmm. Moral victory, I'm not a fan, but we could have lost by 30 also. So I'm glad we were hanging with them. It wasn't embarrassing, we'll put it that way.
Okay, let's jump to our third quarter. So the committee revealed some bracket previews. They actually revealed the first 16 seeds, but I think let's just dig into the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds. So obviously there's 4 of each. The number 1 seeds that they're predicting right now for the tournament are UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, and Texas. I will say if Texas had lost to Tennessee yesterday, Vandy would have been in. But also Vandy lost to Georgia, so that's why they stay as is. So again, the number 1 seeds, UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, Texas. Sid, any shock here from you? I feel like previously we kind of solidified like the top 4 to 5 kind of staying as is and it being shocking if they weren't a 1 seed. What do you think?
No shock on the 1 seeds. I think these are the 4 that we've talked about all year.
Agreed. Now the 2 seeds, these are pretty interesting. We mentioned Vandy and Texas, that flip-flop, but they are predicted as a 2 seed. And then Michigan, Louisville, and LSU round those out. What do you think of those?
Yeah, this one, I am a little bit shocked. And they've been playing much better as of late, and that's Louisville. So I'm not trying to knock them here because like they have been playing really well. But I'm not sure in my mind that they're a 2 seed. And we'll see. I mean, it's going to progress here. I just don't know if they have the longevity to be standing at that 2 seed come actual tournament time. And I realize it's if it were to be picked today. So that's fair. To me, if it were to be picked today, which might sound crazy because the first part of the season, we just talked about it, was not great, is Duke. I mean, Duke's won 16 in a row at this point. And Louisville's also, I mean, they're neck and neck right there. But I think Duke's the better team over Louisville right now, but it's a close one. So like, am I shocked? I guess not. But like, I would like to see Duke at a 2 seed right now, knowing that they've won 16 straight.
Yeah. So the committee currently has, if we want to do the 3, and I'm only mentioning this because of what you just said, they have the 3 seeds as Ohio State, Duke, and Iowa and TCU, which kind of flirts with exactly what you're saying, right? Duke's in there. Ohio State just had a loss to Maryland, so they might bump back out. So I do feel Duke will make a run here just based on how they wrap up the rest of ACC play. And who knows how they do in the ACC tournament, right? Then they get an automatic bid, and that would absolutely help them tremendously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going
All
to be
right.
fun. I think that those conference tournaments are going to be really telling. I think the Big Ten is going to be amazing to watch this year. I think the SEC one's going to be amazing to watch. And then there's like the top tier couple teams in the ACC that are worth watching this year.
Definitely. This was not on the bingo card or the agenda today, but I saw a player that I hadn't seen and honestly kind of forgot about. I just assumed she graduated, but Sid, I wanted to ask you, and there's no right or wrong answer because there's no way I would have ever, ever, ever guessed this. I wanted to know if you knew there's a player that transferred out of LSU and into Arizona State. Now, Arizona State has been rocking it this year. They've been one of the undefeated teams that we talked about earlier on. Obviously, conference play starts, things get a little harder. But do you have any idea who possibly could have transferred out of LSU and is at Arizona State?
I have no idea. And I think part of it is because there's all the hype around who came into LSU, who transferred into LSU. Kate Caval and then obviously Malaysia Fawali are two big ones. So who left LSU? I don't even know.
So, no joke, I was in the same boat as you. And I was watching Arizona State, one of their games, and I saw her out on the court and I was like, wait a minute. And I looked her up in order to find out because I knew her face, but I couldn't place her team. Her name is Last Tier Poa. She was one of the point guards or sixth man that came in for LSU, that Kim Mulkey. She was kind of steering the ship for them for so long. I just think it's crazy. Obviously, she's a grad student, so she has a fifth year. She can go wherever she wants. I didn't even have that on my radar. And when we looked at transfers in the beginning of the year, remember we kind of debriefed on that. It was just mind boggling. She was just one of those that made a move, made it work for her. And it kind of like wasn't even news. And maybe it was for others. I wanted to ask and see because I saw her in the game and I'm like, wait a minute, she's from somewhere else. But how crazy.
That is crazy. And she won a national championship with LSU in 2023 also. So was
Yeah.
a big
That's
player there. Oh,
crazy.
great defender, I remember. Oh yeah. Okay. Ringing a bell. I think it shows how much we don't watch a ton of the Big 12 like we should, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Yeah.
focus so much on SEC, Big 10, ACC. We forget about that other good conference over there.
Yep. I agree.
All right, let's jump into our fourth and last quarter, the upcoming matchups for this week. We've got some really good ones, very exciting. I'm looking forward to them, as always, especially right now because conference play is still running thick. So Tuesday, tomorrow, number 22, Tennessee plays number 14, Ole Miss. I think this is going to be a barn burner. I'm hoping, like we said, Tennessee actually shows up and they're consistent in how they show up. But Ole Miss needs to come back and have a bounce back after the past week also. So that's going to be a good grunge match coming off of losses that both those teams need to show up and show out. Wednesday, February 18th, number 12, Baylor plays number 16, Texas Tech. There we go. Talking some Big 12 matchups. That's a good one on Wednesday. Thursday, February 19th, we got number 3, South Carolina, and these are rankings as of before the new ones that come out today, but number 3, South Carolina plays number 23, Alabama. Number 6, LSU plays number 14, Ole Miss. Again, that's on Thursday. And another good Thursday matchup, number 2, UCLA versus number 25, Washington. And then Sunday, as always, lots of good games on Sunday. February 22nd, number 7, Michigan plays number 15, Iowa. Looking forward to that one for sure. I think that's going to be a really good game. Battle of the strategy to me in that one. Number 14, Ole Miss versus number 3, South Carolina. Number 22, Tennessee is going to play number 10, Oklahoma. And number 18, Kentucky will play number 5, Vandy. Which games, there's a lot of games there coming up this week, Becca. Which couple of games to you are you most excited for?
You know, they're all really, 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 really good. I'm just gonna keep a pulse on Ole Miss. I think they have a tough week, just like Vandy had last week. 3 ranked games that we're highlighting here on a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and that's going to be really hard. We're going to see what Cody McMahon has in store, how she leads that team. I think this is going to be a make or break, honestly, because if they lose to Tennessee and if Tennessee stays at 22, and if they lose to LSU and South Carolina, I don't think the last 2 are as bad, but if they lose that first one, it could definitely bump them back in the rankings. So I'm going to be watching Coach Yo and the old Rebels.
Yeah, that's a really tough stretch. Think about scouting for those 3 games back to back to back. Woo, it's rough. I'm excited for a couple of them on here. I'm excited to watch the LSU Ole Miss game because I think LSU shows up for these big, big games and then questionable on some of the other ones. So what team shows up for LSU? Because I think they can also be a little bit inconsistent, right? Like we watched them play against Duke in the first 10 minutes. I'm like, whoa, who is this team? Right. So they've got to show up against Ole Miss because Ole Miss might be hungry at that point, especially if things don't turn out right for them against Tennessee. I'm excited about that one. I'm excited about the Michigan-Iowa game. I just think that's going to be a really good Big Ten matchup. I don't think Iowa has anything to lose in this one to me, right? Like Michigan on paper and throughout the season so far is the better team to me. I have to say it. Like their sophomore class is just amazing, and I think it's really tough to beat Michigan right now. But I think Iowa could put the game together to do it. So that one to me is on like the upset alert. Whether it's at Iowa, whether it's at Michigan, I'm not even sure. I'd have to look it up. But like I think Iowa could do it, and if they do, that's going to be a good signature win for them in Big Ten play. That's going to help them with seeding and all the above. So kind of rooting for the Hawkeyes a little bit there. We'll see. That's going to be a good matchup, though.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Completely agree. They have nothing to lose, and Jan Jensen's been prepping them up. So exciting to watch that game and all of them, honestly. We'll be tuning in and following up with our next episode and how we're going to dig in and kind of what that means for rankings as we get closer to March Madness. And I looked up the selection show. It will be March 15th. So we are just over a month away, a month out from March Madness.
That is so crazy. Exciting. It is crazy. I think the conference play here is flying by.
Yeah, I agree with that. Completely. And February is a short month as it is, so it's just gonna roll. Like, don't blink because these games are, and all these games are good. Anytime you have a top 10 matchup with 2 teams, I just feel like you never know who's gonna win. And how many teams do we have that have 2 or 3 losses? You got Vandy, you got South Carolina, you got Texas, right? Like there's those teams seem to be struggling all with one another because that's such a hard conference. UCLA is the only one really holding strong with 1 loss, and UConn has none. So again, based on tournament and conference play, that's going to make or break. But I just think all those teams in the SEC are prepped for this. They are honestly prepped for March Madness just based on their conference alone.
Yeah, we're going to see who rises to the top there. I think it's interesting. We barely even mentioned UConn this whole episode because they're not playing anybody in that conference.
Yep. Agree. Fully agree.
Yeah. Super interesting for sure. We'll see how they do it. Like you said, SEC, they're preparing themselves because they're playing against good teams day in, day out in that conference. I don't know what it is. Like Gino turns it up come tournament time because they don't play. I mean, he tries to schedule a couple of good non-conference games sprinkled in there, but their conference isn't near as strong. And for whatever reason, they still look darn prepared during the tournament. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but like he really gets his teams ready to play. It's almost like they're like, okay, now we're going to play we're going to play the season now once the tournament starts. But yeah, so shout out to the Huskies because they're still over there rolling.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Another jam-packed episode for full quarters. Thanks, Sid, for digging in with me on this. And we can't wait for the next one because we have to follow up on the crazy games we just mentioned in our 4th quarter. And I'm interested to see how Ole Miss does. I think 3 ranked games in 1 week, that's a lot for any team. Vandy went through it. We saw their ups and downs. They were our high-low of that 1st quarter. And we'll be able to report back on how it goes.
If they go 3-0, they're going to get their own quarter.
Yeah, you know it. Exactly.
You know it. We'll see. All right. Thanks, Beck. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. We're happy to do this each week and excited to do it because we love it. It's a passion of ours, just following women's basketball. So I appreciate everyone that also tunes in and listens, and shout out to all the women's basketball fans out there. You all rock.
Everyone watches women's sports, and you should because it's insanely good, and the caliber of play is getting wild. Tune in, and we'll be here to report it all.
All right. Have a good one, Beck. Talk soon.
See you, Sid. That's the 28.5 final buzzer for today's episode. Don't forget to hit follow and download on your preferred podcast platform to catch every play-by-play. New episodes drop each week throughout the season.
If you've enjoyed our courtside chat, drop us a review or follow us on our social media accounts where you can send us questions that may be selected for our Team Huddle Q&A episodes. And remember, from females who have played the game, the size of the ball matters.